Gränsfors Bruk Hunters Axe. Let me tell you guys what I think it's good for, and if it's good enough for axe throwing. Let's do it. Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is West of Suburban Biking. Of course, we got Dave here with us. Say hey, Dave.
Hello, everyone.
And we are Midgard Axe. And today we're getting into the Gränsfors Bruk Hunters Axe. And we got some snow. So let's get into it. I took it out and I threw it. And I'm going to give you guys my opinion on how well it threw. If it did good for distance, if it did well up close, so on and so forth. And I'm going to give you guys some information on what I think this axe would be good for. And I'm going to roll in some video, of course, of me throwing this axe. But before we get into all that, I'm going to hand it over to Dave, and he's going to give you guys the specs on this hunter's axe. Take it away, Dave.
Here we have the Gränsfors Bruk Hunters Axe. The bit of the axe head is measuring at 3.5 inches, with a very thin bit profile and normally very sharp. The axe handle is made of hickory and measures in at 18.5 inches. Normally speaking, they are as strong as morning wood. The entire axe weighs 4 pounds and weight distribution feels very good. I attempted to use the smooth pole on one of Freya's cats. Just as a test, you know. I spent a week in Valhall. Not my best moment.
As always, we want to thank Dave for all his information and his specs. What will we do without him?
You're welcome.
Okay, so let's get into the hunter's axe. As Gränsfors always does, they give you a really nice leather sheath. You got 3 strips of leather, one on the left, one on the right, and then one in the center. That center strip of leather is not very common in your cheaper axes, but it does help with the bit. I've got a lot of experience with Gränsfors Bruk axes, and they do really nice with their sheaths. Okay, you do have some rivets on the left and right side here. They look really nice. You have a rivet right here for the buckle on this side, and then you have the snap, which does take a little bit of force getting off. It's not something that you're just going to easily pull off, which I do enjoy. It fits nicely inside the sheath here, and it does hold it on pretty tight. There's not a lot of movement, so I do enjoy Gränsfors's sheaths. They do a really good job with them. And of course, guys, what do we do with this channel? On sheaths, we toss them, throw them away. We don't need it. So getting into the actual hunter's axe, what do I think about it? Okay, so this thing, I will say from the beginning, it is shaped odd, okay? We do have a straight design handle, but then at the bottom, it kind of curves in, as you can see. So it's almost exactly even with the bit. It does make for a challenge trying to stick the bit straight on. And I've done different axes like that before, like the Kova Blackthorn, and different axes before where I've told you guys that if you want to stick the bit, the entire bit, you're going to have to fight knob strikes, which I did have to deal with on this axe here, throwing it. I wanted to get a knob strike when I wanted to stick the entire bit. So you're going to have to rotate it over just a little bit like this, or maybe with the toe of the bit here into the target to get a nice clean stick without a knob strike. Now, as far as how well this thing flew, I'll be honest with you guys right up front, and I'm not going to fluff you guys. This thing is a PDW style throwing axe, okay? Now, I know it's not designed for axe throwing, but if I was to use this as a thrower, I would probably stay at a single rotation. You can do doubles. Triples are a little difficult because of the way that this handle is shaped. I'm just going to be honest with you. So when I took it back for distance, I really kind of just felt like, why? And that's one thing I wanted to say in this video, guys, is that if your axe is not performing well for a double or a triple rotation like this one did, stick with a single. There's nothing wrong with having a really good axe, especially one like this one, a multi-purpose tool that does more than just axe throwing. Keep it as a single rotation. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's what I found with this axe here. It's just really good for a single rotation. It really is. It feels nimble. Like I always say about the Gränsfors Bruk axes, the head feels like it's in unison with the handle. It really does. The weight distribution on it is pretty even, okay? It's not tipping towards the knob. It's not tipping towards the actual axe head. It's kind of staying even there. And it did perform similarly to the Gränsfors Bruk Carpenter's axe. However, I will say that this one right here, I think, is better at a single rotation. At a single rotation, it feels good. It sticks cleanly in the target. It flies really well. And it does really good for different types of trick throws. If you wanted to kind of do a spinning back throw like I showed in this video here, or if you want to kind of just tuck it underneath your arm and do a quick sideways throw, you can with this thing. It's weighted really well for all kinds of different single rotation throws. When you get back to double and triple rotations, it just doesn't feel all that well. I didn't have a good time throwing it for double and triple rotations. It just didn't fly well for me. So when I figured that out, I said, you know what? If I had this thing, and this is a hunter's axe, and if I was going hunting with it and I wanted to clear some branches with it and do something else with it, axe throwing wise, I probably would only want to stay at a single rotation. So that's where the video kind of led me, staying at a single rotation. And it did really nicely at a single rotation, okay? As you guys know, I have a ton of different Gränsfors Bruk axes. I've got a lot of time behind these things, and I really like them. Several axes, a ton of different small forest axes, Scandinavian axes, broad axes, large carving axes, so on and so forth. And I've gone through a ton of different models. I didn't just get one. I've gotten like 7 or 8 large carving axes. I don't know how many broad axes I have. I have a ton, okay? And I will tell you, in the past, I've said that Gränsfors has done a great job hafting their heads on their handles. I haven't hardly had any come loose, a few here and there. We did have some movement. As you can see here, we had some movement. It was kind of moving up and down a little bit. Kind of had to smack the knob to get it to go back down, as you can see right in this area. So I was a tad bit disappointed that it didn't flare out over the top. It was something that I noticed when I took it out to throw it. To remedy this, all I really would have to do is probably put a steel barrel wedge in it. That's all I'd have to do. It would splay it over the top and keep it from moving up and down. It's sitting far enough down on this shelf here. I would just need to splay this top over, in my opinion, for axe throwing to keep it from moving up and down. But it held. I just had to smack it a few times. So if you got one of these and it started doing that, I think it's probably just that they're not splaying the top over enough. They're probably not using a thick enough wedge when they put it down in there. So, like I said, I've got a ton of time with these, and this isn't something that's common. However, it did happen with this one. I'm going to give you guys that information, not holding back. Even though I love Gränsfors and I love their axes, if something happens, I'm going to tell you guys about it. And this one had some movement. As far as the bit goes, it came really sharp. And it's still really sharp. However, like I've said before, Gränsfors puts a very, very thin bit profile on their axes. And if you guys can see here, we did have some edge rollover, okay? And I've said that before about Gränsfors, is that they put really thin edges on their axes. And sometimes you have to go back and reprofile them if you want to use them for heavy duty use, especially axe throwing. So all in all, it still is sharp, as I said before, but I would probably reprofile this bit so that the edge didn't roll over as much. Now the handle did a really good job in the weather. I took it out and I threw it, and I kind of threw it in the snow a few times to check this pattern. As you guys know, I've talked about this pattern before they put in their axe handles to see if it actually holds up when you're using it. It held up really well. It did a really good job. It did better than a slick axe handle. Okay, so those indentions in there held up when I got the axe handle wet. I was able to throw it for a single and a double rotation. It held in my hand. It still released nicely out of the hand, but I will say that those notches really did help for throwing. And if I had the ability to put these same notches in my axe handles, you know, to be able to use them in, you know, rainy weather or snowy weather, stuff like that, I would definitely recreate this. If anybody knows how to recreate this, or if anybody knows how Gränsfors does this, please let me know, because I love these little notches they put in the bottom of these handles. I know some people don't like it, but I do, because I like using axes like this for multi-purpose work. You know, chopping, cutting, and axe throwing. And when your hands get wet from rain or snow, these things do help. So I did enjoy that. Now, what the Hunter's Axe is designed for is for hunters out there. If you wanted to put this on your back on a pack or something like that, you know, camping, hunting, backpacking, stuff like that, trekking, and you needed an axe to be able to do some chopping work on some, you know, limbs, if you're getting up in your tree stand or something like that, this would be good for that type of purpose. Also, the pole in the back. The whole thing about the Hunter's Axe is that it's got a rounded, smooth pole. And what it's designed for is if you go hunting, you know, deer, elk, bear, things like that, you can take this thing out and you can do a lot of skinning work with the back of the pole. So I do like this thing. I do like it because it is a multi-purpose tool. You could take it out, cut some branches out so you can get into your tree stand. Maybe you're starting the year out and you need to take this thing hunting, and you get up in your tree stand and you realize, oh crap, I forgot to take this branch out. You can use it. But if you also needed to use it to clean some game or something like that with a pole, you got this type of pole in the back to be able to do that. Also, you could use it for axe throwing if you needed. Single rotations is where I would keep it at. Now, would I tell you to go out and buy this thing for axe throwing? No, I wouldn't. I don't think this thing would be a great axe to go out and buy specifically for axe throwing. But if you wanted a multi-purpose tool that could do some chopping, cutting work, and wanted to do some skinning work if you're a hunter, but also has the ability to throw at a single, maybe a double rotation if you needed to, this would be the ticket right here, the Hunter's Axe. It flies really well in the air. It feels really good in the hand, and it's weighted really nice. Now, if you don't like the Hunter's Axe, if you don't plan on doing any hunting and you want a regular pole in the back and you want something that's going to fly a little bit better, then I would suggest going with the Gränsfors Bruk small forest axe. I've done a video on that. Go back and check it out. That thing is great. It is a great little axe for doing chopping work, and it's also great for axe throwing. That axe performs better than this one only because of the handle. I think the handle on that one is better. As you guys can see here, this handle's a lot fatter and it kind of slims down, but then it hooks in towards the actual bit. And it does have a drastic knob down here at the bottom, curve I should say, at the bottom of the knob, where your small forest axe doesn't have that, okay? So if you wanted to buy something that's a little bit more versatile for cutting work and you wanted to throw it more without doing any hunting, I would go with the Gränsfors Bruk small forest axe. But if you're going to do a lot of hunting work and you want to do some chopping and skinning, I think the Hunter's Axe would be a great choice. All in all, it's not a bad axe. I just think that we should use it for what it's designed for. Cutting, hunting, and doing some throwing at a single rotation is very nimble. It really is. What do you think, Dave?
It just smashes like thunder. What a monster.
Couldn't say it better myself. It's a great Swedish axe, really is. I will tell you guys that sometimes you have to be realistic with some of these work axes, okay? Sometimes they're not going to perform the way you want them to. And if you're going to use them out and about, cutting, skinning, chopping, whatever the case may be, and you want to be able to throw them, you got to know the limits of a work axe, because this is not a dedicated throwing axe. And the limits on this thing is a single rotation. That's just my opinion. I would be comfortable taking this thing out to do all kinds of different work and being able to throw it at a single rotation and be nimble with it, do some cool throws with it. And I will tell you guys too, this handle is a freaking beast. Even though we had some movement with the head, as you can see, I beat the hell out of this handle up and it didn't break, nothing. And I've said that before, Gränsfors uses some great hickory handles with their axe heads. They pick really good wood when they make their axe handles. So if you want to buy a Gränsfors Bruk axe, I would say go for it. I know they're a little pricey. This hunter's axe right here is coming in at a little over 200 bucks. But in my experience and in my opinion, they do really well with their axe handle choice. They're just really strong and they're normally beasts for axe throwing. So that's why I like using them. So keep that in mind when you use work axes like the hunter's axe, that they have limitations and you got to know what those limitations are. Yes, it's an axe used for work, chopping, splitting, and skinning and stuff like that. But if you want to throw it, you could. Just take it out, find where the limitations are, and stay within those parameters of this thing sticking where you want it to stick at, being accurate, being true, and it feels really good out of the hand, flying in the air, and you don't have to worry about, oh, is this thing going to do well for a triple rotation, because you've already found that out. If you need to throw it, hey, I need to stay within maybe a double rotation. This thing flies really well at singles. Let's stay in there. Right, Dave?
Whatever you say. Can we wrap this up?
He's got it. Appreciate everything everybody does to make this channel what it is. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay within the parameters of your axe. Stay within the parameters of your axe, and you guys will be happy. Don't try to make axes do things that they can't do. Some of these axes can't do things you want them to do, and you have to be realistic with that. This is a chopping, slicing, cutting, skinning work axe that can be thrown for single rotation, but it's not an actual throwing axe, but you can use it if you needed to, single rotations. If you want something more than that, maybe go with the Gränsfors Bruk small forest axe. Like I said before, I think that would be better suited for someone who wants to do just chopping and throwing. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like I said, great little axe. It really is. If anything happens to the handle, you can always replace it. Not a big deal, but I will say that they make great handles. I beat the hell out of this thing and it's still on there. It's still working. It's still holding up. So until next time, guys, see you.